All right, everyone, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Right back in as the playoffs have just begun. So we got a slightly different format for today's episode. We'll wing it as we go, since we didn't work in an episode for our playoff predictions. So we're gonna work that in. Obviously, hindsight, some of those picks are gonna be wrong, but still, those are predictions. They weren't gonna be perfect anyway. So let's uh let's get it all going. 21st episode, of course. Christian, let's get started.
Yeah, so obviously before we kick it right up, we're both going to go over our full whole playoff prediction. We're going to have it right here on the screen. So obviously starting off with me. For the wild cards, obviously I chose the Bills, Bengals, Chargers, Niners, Vikings, Cowboys. Only got two of those games wrong. So here's the full bracket leading up from the division to the Super Bowl. So we did make these predictions before the wild card begun on Saturday. And because of that, the bracket does look a little iffy. And because of that, I did chose the Cowboys to move on from the Bucks, and they would be playing Philly as of the Vikings would be playing the Niners, and then the Cowboys-Niners move on championship. Obviously, I chose Cowboys Super Bowl. I'm biased. I'm sorry. And then obviously I picked the Bengals to win and the Chiefs to win. And then obviously those divisionals happening as well. I did choose the Bills and the Chiefs to both move on. They could go into the championship, and it will be a Cowboys-Bills Super Bowl. And obviously choosing my Cowboys to win, repeat history once itself. But obviously now, since we got the whole wildcard situations wrapped up for this week, and now we are on to divisional, it will be Cowboys and Niners, and it will be the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. And then on the AFC side, it will be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Jaguars, and then the Bills and Ravens.
Yeah, so obviously, like we mentioned, it's a little different. I mean, would have been nice to get this in last week, but just that's in the past. So my playoff bracket, obviously that'll be on screen as well. AFC side, we were in full agreement. I took the Bills and the Bengals. We just obviously both got the Charger game wrong. I also took the Chargers, and the Jaguars ended up pulling that historic comeback. As for the NFC side, I got the Giants pulling off that upset. Got that one right, and I did take the Bucks to beat your Cowboys, so that one was wrong on my side. As for the divisional round, that will be this week. I took the Bills to beat the Bengals and the Chiefs to then beat the Chargers, and the Niners beating the Bucks and the Eagles. I mean the Giants beating the Eagles in another little upset for their run. AFC Championship, I got the Bills beating the Chiefs, and NFC Championship, I got the Niners finally ending the Giants' little run here, and I got the Bills winning Super Bowl finally. After so long, they'll finally get it for Damar Hamlin as well. So after get that out of the way, just make sure we got our predictions in before the playoffs go any further. We can finally get started with our Super Wildcard Weekend recap. Christian, obviously, let's get it started.
Yeah, so obviously we had lots of great football coming into this week, but obviously we had the Saturday slate to begin with. So first game out, the 1:30 game, which was a nice divisional matchup of the NFC West, the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers. Honestly, this beginning half was another sign of Brock Purdy facing adversity. He wasn't getting too hot. He only threw he only completed 18 passes on 30 attempts the whole game, which is not so good if just in general for a quarterback. But the Seahawks did have a 1-point advantage at halftime, leading 17-16. But honestly, it's just a nice little run there. DK Metcalf sealing the deal to get the nice little lead. But obviously, the Niners did bounce back the second half. They did shut out the Seahawks in the third quarter, scoring a touchdown in the third as well. And in the fourth quarter, obviously sealed the game with an 18 lead. Not 18, excuse me, with an 18-point lead over the Seahawks, as the Seahawks did only get 6. So the 49ers, they did have a 12-point advantage in the fourth. That pretty much sealed the deal. And obviously Brock Purdy obviously threw 3 touchdowns as well. Obviously he made a little history with his little touchdowns there. But obviously he faced adversity and he overcame it really fast. The Niners They started out really slow and they really bounced back to show what kind of team they are, have a lot of grit, and they could possibly be dangerous, especially for next week's matchup against my Cowboys. And as for the Seahawks, it looked very well. Obviously, second quarter, they scored all their points from the start of the game, 17. That's what got them the big lead. But during the second half, it was just a big collapse. Geno Smith, I don't know what happened with him. The fumble that was forced upon him, that kind of did screw them over a bit, which kind of basically sealed the deal from the Niners to take that victory. Obviously, Nick Bosa playing a big factor. Obviously, arguably the number one defender in the league. And obviously, it can be comparable with Micah Parsons, obviously. But, people argue here and there, have their doubts whatsoever. But it looks like he also is maybe the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year with Micah Parsons. So it's really much up to them two. Obviously, I hope Micah wins it. But whoever wins it, honestly, it would be pretty good. But obviously, let's set the awards on the side and continue for this. But obviously, it was a great game played by the Niners as well. Their defense obviously showed out in the second half, and it really shows how much this team can really go forward, which how good they can turn it around after simple mistakes like they committed in the first half of the game.
Yeah, we had, originally predicted for this game to kind of be close. We see, two guys making their playoff debuts, and of course two playoff veterans from the coaches. It was looking like that at first, sure. With like you said, Seahawks had a 1-point lead, kind of looking like a little stunner brewing, the playoff opener. But just second half pretty finally settled in, as what I guess most people could have assumed usually happens. Takes someone, get the little nerves rattled out. But overall, Purdy really did just settle in, and he just took it from there. Obviously, you see 41 points in his playoff debut. After that rocky first half, he looked like he's been doing it for years. And I guess the main thing here too. We knew the offenses. Although the Niners do have more weapons, the Seahawks offense is pretty comparable with the Niners. It just came down to the defense, and you see easily the best defense in the league finally did show up in the second half. Only allowed 6 points after a surprising second quarter for the Seahawks. Overall, we just see, like I said, how scary this Niners team is. As I've been saying the past couple weeks, easily my favorite to come out of the NFC, and we'll just see how long Brock Purdy can keep this magical run going. Now, of course, our second Saturday game is the Chargers and the Jaguars. What can you say about this game? Just absolutely incredible game. So I just started off with Trevor Lawrence. He still undefeated on Saturdays, as throughout high school, college, and now in the NFL, has not lost the game on Saturday. Did not look that way originally, of course. We see the Chargers just jumping out to an incredible 27-0 lead with just playing great football overall. You see Justin Herbert looked like he was just running away with the game of his life. And obviously, his playoff debut, even without his top target in Mike Williams, just didn't affect anything at all in the Chargers offense. It looked like they were just going to keep rolling away with it. But obviously, apart from that, the Chargers defense, you see 4 interceptions in the first half, 3 of those going to Asante Samuel Jr. Just like his dad, a great knack for interceptions in the postseason. And after that last interception, you can really see now. I guess the Jaguars finally woke up, and Trevor Lawrence finally right there that last drive he was able to finally snag a touchdown, and you could tell. I guess the momentum was finally switching over, and from there on, really don't know a lot. Whatever happened in the Chargers' mind just kind of, at that point it gave in, and Trevor Lawrence just used all that momentum and slowly brought him back. And sure, you could say all you want about that missed holding call on Joey Bosa right there at the end that gave the Jaguars the opportunity to go for 2. You look at it overall, the Chargers were getting a lot of calls in the first half, so to me it would even out the playoffs. Just the refs in general, they haven't been good. So at this point, I'm just surprised Brandon Staley still has his job, and they did fire Joe Lombardi, of course, the OC. But my opinion, Staley should have got canned after this.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. It was just a disappointing game overall by these Chargers. They did start off hot with the 27-0 lead, and obviously coming in into halftime leading 27-7. I mean, really can't make this up. I mean, sure, keep going ahead saying NFL scriptwriters, blah, 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 for Trevor Lawrence to not lose on Saturday once again. But, I mean, this is really just all on the Chargers coaching staff. You really can't be blaming this on Justin Herbert, especially with me, who was a doubter of him earlier in the season. And obviously proved me wrong to lead these Chargers into the postseason for the first time since, I believe, 2018. And honestly, Justin Herbert did play a good game in the first half, but I don't know what happened with Brandon Staley and Joe Lombardi. That play calling was just really bad. But the Jaguars obviously using that momentum at halftime, to come back. Trevor Lawrence not giving up, especially with Travis Etienne Jr. Doing pretty decent on the ground, averaging 5 yards a carry. So that kind of did help him a bit, really good. And then obviously Trevor Lawrence doing what he does best, leading his team on his back. Really, if they were to lose this game, it would have been such a really bad way to lose out, since they were on such a hot streak to end the season. And obviously to go out like this on a blowout loss. But obviously they came back and win. And also, obviously, forgot to mention how Dicker, the kicker from the Chargers, he did miss that field goal. That pretty much changed the whole momentum of the game. And obviously, the Jaguars did drive down with the game-winning field goal. And obviously, if it would have been a 4-point game and that field goal was made, and it would have been a whole different situation since the Jaguars would have need to have gone for a touchdown. So I don't know. Hypothetically, if Dicker did make that kick, Chargers would be moving on to play the Kansas City Chiefs. But obviously, we don't know. Guess we'll never know. And obviously, Jaguars will win, having a tough game against the Chiefs next week. Now, moving on to another thriller, which is another very good game, another nice divisional matchup with the AFC East, the Miami Dolphins against the Buffalo Bills. This was a very confusing game, surprising game, how the Dolphins had a pretty good lead, scoring the second with 17 points at the second half, and with Josh Allen throwing 2 picks. From the stats of alone, he was pretty good on picks-wise. I think leading with 14, and not leading, but he did have 14 picks of the season, throwing multiple a game. But obviously the Bills did bounce back a bit, keeping it a close game. Now, what I can say is, Josh Allen, did he bounce back? Yes, he did bounce back. Obviously targeted his favorite receiver, Stephon Diggs, for 7 catches and 114 yards. That was a very big accomplishment for them to overcome that adversity that they faced against the Dolphins. But obviously, the big thing that really cost the Dolphins this game was their clock management. I mean, they used on their final drives, they used all their timeouts to avoid delays of games. They were driving pretty well, covering on that long third down, and obviously driving down to possibly score a field goal or even a touchdown. But obviously on that 4th and 1, I don't know what they were doing in the huddle for 40 seconds. Mike McDaniel was taking too long for the play call. I don't know what Skylar Thompson was doing, if he couldn't make a play either. And because of that, they had no timeouts, and they could not call it. They couldn't call it, and it was, instead of 4th and 1, it was 4th and 6, and obviously we know what happened right there. So it pretty much screwed them over. I understand if Skylar Thompson is not really familiar with the playbook, but obviously that's really irrelevant. That even the backup should know the playbook. Obviously they won't do as well as the starter, but realistically it should have been like that. But with the Buffalo Bills, they did win a very close matchup against the Dolphins, and they do have another pretty good matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. A nice Josh Allen and Joe Burrow masterclass from both of them next week.
Yeah, I mean, just to go off of, what you said, Skylar Thompson, forget, if he's not familiar with the playbook. He's been there all season. Sure, he's a rookie, but to at least be familiar with it, he should have been. That really shouldn't have been an issue at all. Just the main thing, sure, he doesn't have that much in-game experience, but, sure, regardless, aside from that, the pretty unfortunate ending, all the clock managing and whatever aside, he did really good. Everyone expected this to be just an absolute blowout, probably the Bills just rolling over him by 20 points. In the end, sure, this game was pretty close just because Josh Allen took a while to finally settle in, and the Bills really weren't looking like themselves at first. Kind of just, they were looking on upset alert, but in the end, they hung around long enough to really get the separation from the Dolphins, and in the end, like you said, another bounce back game for Josh Allen, and it's as long as he can keep this going. Obviously, like you said, a really tough matchup against the Bengals. They'll actually finish this game from that Monday nighter in Week 17. That obviously emotions will be high after the Damar Hamlin situation. This time we'll be in Buffalo instead of Cincinnati, and obviously a trip to the AFC Championship on the line. Of course, our next game, now back on the NFC side, the Giants and the Vikings. This is our first disagreement of wildcard weekend. I did come away with this one, obviously picking the Giants in this, call it this upset. Pretty sure the Vikings were favored here. Kirk Cousins couldn't get it done at 1:30 p.m. I guess, of course, you expected his little noon streak to keep going. Not this time. Got a Vanilla Vic Daniel Jones, just an absolute playoff masterclass himself. Game of his career, I would say. I mean, you see 301 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just basically everything for the Giants was going as what they needed to win this game. Even Saquon, right away in the first half overall, he had broken on like 2 or 3 really good runs. One of those for the touchdown, I believe it was like 20 yards. You can't say too much about this game. Just we both mentioned that it was gonna take a really good game specifically out of Daniel Jones to really get over the Vikings, regardless of how they were looking. Teams could make it click in the playoffs, but overall, now we can really tell the Vikings were just probably one of the more fraudulent teams throughout the season. They were looking great at the start. Of course, me personally, even before the season started, I was really high on them. I obviously took them to win the North. I really expected big things out of them, but throughout the season, we just saw the cracks showing more and more. Just Kirk Cousins he just wasn't himself. Even Justin Jefferson was slowly dropping off in performance, especially we saw in that game against the Packers, where Jaire Alexander just really kept him at. He just completely limited his stats, and we'll see what they can do in the future. Obviously with a really poor defense overall too. Let's see what Kevin O'Connell and obviously the entire Viking staff can do, but. Obviously, big story here. The Giants finally got their first playoff win in 11 years, and they'll be moving on to a great NFC East matchup against the Eagles.
Yeah, obviously, I picked the Vikings on this one, and then I've said this before on past episodes of the seasons, and Vikings winning in one-score games, and obviously, how I did say winning in one-score games is not going to cut in the playoffs. Obviously, I should have stuck by that and picked the Giants. I was leaning forward to it, but obviously, I really would have expected them to win by a possession. But obviously that wasn't like that. Kirk could not get it done when he needed the most. Obviously, the 4th and 8 to play to end the season, and obviously checks it down for 3 yards to T.J. Hawkinson. That play calling was just absurd. Just because T.J. Hawkinson has been doing phenomenal, you can't just expect him to break that tackle very easy. Because if he were to break that tackle in like a split second, it would have ran in for the first putt. Obviously, just a quick slant. Not really quick slant, maybe a regular 5-step slant could have possibly set them up for the first down. But obviously the play calling towards the end was just bad. This was a nice, good, I would say legacy game for Daniel Jones, but it was a nice, I would say okay breakout game for him, especially in the playoffs. Him and Saquon, their debuts, really paid off. Obviously getting it going early with Saquon on the run game was really a big factor for them to win this game. And obviously Daniel Jones, throwing for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. He really did play it off here really well. And then as you said here, they will be moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles next week. A tough matchup. And obviously from the winner of that game does play the winner of the Niners Cowboys, which is obviously how it works. But it will be some nice 2 good games of the NFC next week. Now moving on to close out the Sunday slates of our Super Wildcard weekend, which is the Ravens and the Bengals game. Now, obviously, we did have a consensus with this one, and obviously it was correct on this one. And Tyler Huntley did get the start for the Ravens. He looked pretty well, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, but obviously that fumble I think it was inside the 2-yard line or on the 1-yard line.
Inside the 1, yeah. Probably a foot out of the end zone.
Yeah, where Hubbard from the Bengals did recover that 98-yard fumble return to score for the touchdown. So that was really the game changer because it was a tight game. Ravens would have taken the lead, a 7-point lead, but obviously anything could happen any given Sunday, and this was a prime example of it. Now, obviously, Bengals, they should have probably won by a fair amount, but obviously it was a division matchup, so you might have said it would have been close, yes. You could contradict that with the Niners and Seahawks. It was a division game, but it was not close. Obviously, with these, they're a little tougher, and how we said with the Ravens quarterback situation, and most likely Lamar going to leave the organization, future Jet. Tyler Honey really tried his best to put this team on the back, but obviously fell really short for the simple mistakes especially on Saturday one. And obviously with the Bengals, they have another nice, good matchup against the Bills in a neutral site, which I believe is in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, which is the Falcons, I believe. Or is it for the championship?
It's for the AFC Championship. Though the Bills-Bengals game will be in
the
Buffalo.
Championship. It will be on a neutral site if that is the case, but they will be traveling to Buffalo in the meantime. And now,
fuck it. All right, I'll just take it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So the main story here, big divisional matchup. We just saw this game last week, and I believe the Bengals swept the Ravens. Obviously, they won last week, and pretty sure they won the first matchup. Not sure if they did, but overall, you could see the main story was without Lamar, it was going to be pretty hard to get over the top in a game like this. With Lamar, honestly, the way things played out, Ravens probably would have won if we're being realistic. Even J.K. Dobbins, which his comments were taken out of context in the end, but even he was kind of alluding to the fact that with Lamar, it probably was a Ravens victory here. The Bengals honestly didn't really look the best. They only had 9 points in the first half. It was it 9-7, something like that. But
it was 9 points.
9-10. Yeah, they were actually down 9-10. I really would have expected a lot more from Joe Burrow and obviously just the offense in general. We had both expected, like what we had predicted with the Bills Dolphins. We expected a larger margin of victory, and in the end, it was the defense that got this win for them. With, like you said, Sam Hubbard's big 98-yard return. Obviously, right there, it's a pretty much like a 14-point swing. You go from possibly just about going up 7 to now down 7. So that kind of took the momentum out. And last play of the game, the Ravens kind of, the last drive overall, they were kind of mismanaged their opportunities, and obviously came down to a 4th and 20. It was close. Hundley almost got that into the end zone, but in the end, like I said, that the Bengals defense was the difference here, and they pretty much single-handedly got them into the divisional round. So we'll see if the defense can hold up, if Joe Burrow can have a bounce back. But if things look like this, does not look like it could be sustained. Now, of course, our Monday night playoff matchup. Christian, this is obviously your matchup. I'll keep it light just to let you give your whole emotional backstory to this game. So, overall, just a great game for your Cowboys. Obviously, I took the Bucs here. Was expecting. My prediction was seeing how Dak looked recently, seeing how your defense was looking. Didn't look the best for the Cowboys, but obviously, we see just in the greatest sense of the word, an absolute masterclass by Dak Prescott. Can't really say nothing more about that. It was just a great game for him, and just all sides of the ball, except special teams, of course. Yeah, I know you'll really get into that on Brett Maher. See what you have to say about his 4 missed extra points. Not the last one though. I guess you could see what you feel about that, but Cowboys finally got a road playoff win, I believe, first time since 92.
I believe 92, which was the championship game against the Niners, which we did win to win
this. Yes, you did. So see if history repeats itself there. But like I said, I'll keep it light to let you go. But it was just a great game for your Cowboys, and see if Brady does end up hanging it up probably should have stayed retired, but I mean, see if he wants to force his way back into the league.
Yeah, thank you. Well, obviously, now this was a very, very exciting win for me. As of last week's episode, I did get somewhat a little emotional about my take with this game, and obviously it did pay off with my reasonings. Now, obviously, this game did start off a little bit rocky for both teams, I should say. First two drives for both teams were pretty absurd. Dak's first three passes were all drops. So with the Bucks, they're pretty inaccurate throws by Brady, but obviously in the third drive for the Cowboys, they did bounce back, and after that, they got going. Dak, this is arguably the best game of this. This was his legacy game coming into this game. This was going to be his legacy game, coming to prove everybody wrong, and obviously putting on a show with 5 total touchdowns. And he also did make history, joining Peyton Manning and Matt Ryan with 4 passing touchdowns and a rush touchdown in postseason history. Obviously, people are still going to hate. All over Twitter, all over Instagram, people are still going to hate. Obviously, those are just the brain dead haters that obviously you'll see every day against the Cowboys. They can't win or lose without getting hated on, which is the standard that the Cowboys live up to for the past almost 3 decades. But it's just how it is. This whole game, after the 2 drives, it was just touchdown. Last 4 drives during the game. Tony Pollard had a nice game for 50 carries and 77 yards. Kellen Moore finally opening the playbook. I guess he was saving the playbook for playoffs, and it did work out. I think we only punted the ball once or twice, I believe. So Brandon Anger did pretty much get a day off. So good for him. Dalton Schultz had a career game today yesterday. 7 catches, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dalton Schultz. I always liked Dalton Schultz. Even after he had a pretty bad season last year, I still had hope for him this season. He really showed out this year. And obviously putting Brady on skates the whole time and, getting pressure on him. And then obviously with the defensive side, Micah Parsons, very angry with the playoffs, very angry with the season. Not the season, and very angry with the week. And obviously he did pay off the most pressures on the team, recording, I think it was a sack. And it was just great. Stars are back. Leighton Vander Esch, the Wolf Hunter, obviously coming back from the linebacker, really played off. He could have had 2 potential picks, but obviously little butterfingers here and there. But it's reasonable when you haven't played 3 games. So obviously having him back was a very great deal. And obviously our tight end and killer, Jayron Kearse. Jayron Kearse was honestly one of our most underrated signings last year. And thankfully we re-signed him for, I think, another 2 or 3 years. And he really showed out. He really did show out on the defense, on the defense side. The cornerbacks containing Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Russell Gage. Obviously, with Russell Gage suffering a very bad injury, so prayers to him. Hopefully, he does recover soon for next season. So prayers to him, obviously. But our corners really did contain him. Xavier Rhodes, he did get burnt once, but hey, he did play good all game. And then Izzy Mukamu, which is one of our rookies. I think it was one of our rookies as well. He was playing in the slot corners, and he had a very great game. I think he was targeted, 10 times, but only allowing like 20. I believe it was around, I hope it was like 15 or 25 yards or 10 or 14 yards. Either which one of those ratios they're there, but he did allow under 30. I know that for sure. So he did play great in the slot, and we really need that energy next week as we have to contain Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Now, as for Trayvon Diggs, he did start off a little sloppy with missing a couple tackles. Trayvon Diggs hasn't been the best tackler, but aside of his tackling, he did have some pretty good contained blocks. He did get burned a bit, but obviously he didn't allow nothing too crazy. So really excited that defense finally stepped up, and the pass rush and the rush defense really just stepped up as well. Obviously having Jonathan Hankins back at the line really did pay off. And obviously we did pick up Brady in the end zone, which was his first pick in the red zone for the first time since 2019 when he was still with the Patriots. So that was really good. And obviously Dak Prescott reading the defenses, reading everything. It was just amazing for Dak. Obviously, I expected a nice, great, amazing game by Dak Prescott, and it did play off. Now, as for the special teams has been pretty iffy, especially Brett Maher. I don't know what was up with him. He missed the PAT. I'm just like, okay, he'll be good. Missed another, fuck, okay, whatever. Missed the third, God. Fourth, I had enough. After he missed this fourth, man, where it was 4th and 4, McCarthy's like, keep the guys on the field. And when, Dak throws a nice little ball to CeeDee Lamb wide open on a busted coverage where Carlton Jones could not get to him, which is pretty good. And obviously, as soon as that ball was thrown, Dalton Schultz was already celebrating. Just shows how good the Cowboys were playing that whole game. But obviously for Brett Maher, I hope he'll bounce back. He's been having a great season. He was 50 for 53 on field goals and I think 29 for 32 on PATs. So he had a great, phenomenal season. Obviously, he's an underrated signing after how much he struggled in 2019 with us. But other than that, Brett Maher will be good next week for San Francisco. And as for everything, hey, everyone now is all going from y'all are going to lose to the Bucks, and now to coming from you guys beat the Bucks. Like, haters cannot make up their mind. Obviously, like I said, the Cowboys are lived to a different standard. Now, I can't even believe what will happen if we do make such a huge run, which is possible with this team, the way they're playing. If Dak plays like this, the play calling is amazing. Defense is on their heels. Michael Gallup also had a great game, stepping up today with the receivers. Cornerbacks do their job. Pressure is there. I do think we can also make Super Bowl this year, obviously, if we play our cards right. But obviously, this team needs to stay consistent, and they have to stick with their grit and their roots to make sure not to get too cocky, especially with the tough game against San Francisco next week. Now, obviously, I went a little far on that, but obviously, those were my takes. Pretty much wrapped up the whole game, and pretty much sums up the Bucks game and the Cowboys game. And hopefully, obviously, Brady retires, but we'll have to see from now. Now, obviously, that wraps up my takeaways of this nice, phenomenal Cowboys game of a Dak Prescott masterclass. The Brett Maher disaster class, but he'll bounce back. Now, obviously, that does finish the recap for Super Wildcard Weekend of the 2022-23 season. Now, we will be moving on to the divisional round predictions, but obviously, before we do go into predictions, we will be going over our records as we are. Since this is the postseason edition, records did reset.
Yeah, reset, clean slate. But of course, we had two disagreements, split them in between 1-1, and obviously had one game wrong. So we went 4-2. We'll go into the divisional round even. So we'll see what changes, see what disagreements we get into. So that out the way, let's get right into it. Got 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. We'll start the Trevor Lawrence once again on Saturday, opening of the divisional round against the 1-seed Chiefs. A real big part of me really wants to say Trevor Lawrence keeps his streak. These Jaguars got that Cinderella team written all over them. But, unfortunately, just see Pat Mahomes in the playoffs. It's really hard to pick against them. I really think the inefficiency that Trevor Lawrence did show in the past couple weeks is going to start catching up with him. And I don't think it's gonna fly against the Chiefs defense. And just regardless, the Chiefs offense is probably gonna run circles around the Jaguars defense. So unfortunately for that, I see the road for the Jaguars ending here, and I see the Chiefs once again back in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you again. Like you said, the Cinderella run will be over after a nice historic comeback win against the Chargers last week. They are playing a very nice Kansas City-led team by Patrick Mahomes, and we already know how Patrick Mahomes is in the playoffs. But obviously, it's very hard to bet against them because of that. Patrick Mahomes. Obviously with the defense that they have, it's kind of iffy. Both defenses kind of jacked up a bit, but obviously Patrick Mahomes, with his main target Travis Kelce, gonna expect a big game from them too. A nice, great connection. I do think it will be a close game. But I will agree and stay with Kansas City to win this one. Now moving on to the next game, which is the nice NFC East division, and obviously it's kind of hard to pick the winner for this one. Honestly, it's a little hard for me to choose, but obviously, sadly, I will have to stick with Philly. Unfortunately, I feel like the run for the Giants stops here. I feel like this is going to prove that Jalen Hurts is more than just obviously, I wouldn't say system quarterback, since that is what he's been defined as the season. But if they do end up winning this game, his first playoff career win, and hopefully it will be scary for Philly to move on to the playoffs. So I will be sticking with Philly on this one. I do hopefully expect Saquon at least go off today, but obviously with Philly's run game and their defense, obviously they're good in the pass. I do feel like they will contain the Giants.
Unfortunately, we went over this earlier. I'm gonna roll with the Giants. I'm gonna roll with my original picks from my original playoff bracket. Stick with the Giants, man. They're another team that looks like they got Cinderella written all over them. This time, you see, every time they make a deep playoff run, it's from the 6th seed or just from an underdog position. I really see Daniel Jones and Saquon carrying this team. We see the crack showing in the Eagles. Sure, from the time that Jalen Hurts missed and that the Eagles defense was keeping up, which that could tend to be the reason this prediction is wrong. Which I wouldn't expect it I would expect see the Eagles to prove me wrong here, but I do have a little more belief that the Giants can pull this upset. I mean, if there's one upset I'm expecting this week, it would be the Giants. So, regardless, I see a really close game, a really good game, probably the best game of this division around here. But yeah, I'm gonna roll with the upset. Regardless. So we'll move into our mini Sunday slate here with the Bengals and the Bills. Obviously, like we mentioned earlier, this we'll finally get to see a culmination into this the matchup that we did see Monday night in Week 17 with the whole Damar Hamlin situation. This time around, last time I did pick the Bengals, but this time in Buffalo, I can't really pick against Josh Allen, especially how the Bengals offense was looking last week. Both offenses were looking kind of shaky, honestly, but the Bills did have a stronger bounce back. I just don't think the way the Bengals are looking right now that they can hang with the Bills defense. Regardless, it'll be a close game. I do expect all these games to be close, but I just think this time specifically, Josh Allen will get the better Joe Burrow.
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to stick with a prediction as well, and obviously I do think Josh Allen will get that win on Joe Burrow. I feel like Josh Allen, you know how good he is. Obviously he is a little iffy with the picks as well, but I feel like this game I feel like he would contain the ball just a little bit better. Obviously, with his main targets, Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, they would make a huge stick connection, especially with Eli Apple on the backfield for the Bengals. I mean, bro got cooked by Demarcus Robinson last week. I mean, for God's sake. So obviously, Eli Apple is gonna be burnt toast by the hopefully the end of the game. But yes, I do got the Buffalo Bills winning this one, and it's gonna be a nice tough matchup. Now, obviously, moving on to my game. This is going to be another nice, great, tough matchup, but I will be going with my Cowboys as well. Yes, I'm biased, but I do have my reasoning behind this. Now, obviously, last week we were the favorites for the Bucks game, but obviously people were like, "Oh, you're going to lose to the Bucks. Brady owns you guys. 7-0 against them." We showed out again. We showed out in that game. Dak Prescott, obviously, with his 5 touchdowns, proving everyone wrong once again. Obviously, hopefully he does keep playing like this, and obviously I do hope he will, and I know he will. He will have this confidence going, and obviously, hopefully Brett Maher does get his confidence back, making his kicks, especially with the nice tough San Francisco team. Now, obviously, this is a lot of pressure for both teams. Obviously, with Dallas advancing past the division round since 1996, and obviously with San Francisco losing in the championship last year and being good consistently now, and this is also pressure on Brock Purdy now. Yes, it's his first career start, first playoff win. It was great for him, really great for him. But this is the one and final, not final, but this is another test for Brock Purdy against the nice defense that the Cowboys have. Because this game will more likely be a defensive battle with the Niners defense and the Cowboys defense. So obviously Brock Purdy, he may face adversity against us. I will hope for that and bring a lot of pressure to him, because if we're really looking down into it, the Niners really haven't played anybody good this season. They're 2-1 against teams above 500, and other than that, they're putting down opponents. But the Cowboys, they're 5-1 this season against teams above 500. So obviously, last year that was a complete different story. We were 0-5, I believe, against teams with winning records. And obviously, this season changed. Now, obviously, we're better against bad teams. Little inconsistent with bad teams, good with good teams, I should say, actually. But obviously, Brock Purdy does also have a lot of pressure on the line, and obviously, my Cowboys defense keeps pressuring the home game like they did Brady. I do think Dallas will walk away with this one in a close game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't expect nothing less from your prediction here, but as much as I hate to do this, you know me. I mean, they're my Super Bowl pick, so I got to go with the 49ers here. It's just yeah. I mean, they're the best team on both sides of the ball right now in the NFC. I can't really go with anything else here. Just I mean, sure, say what you want about this being a new test for Brock Purdy. I think seeing what he did in the wild card round was enough for me to say that the wild card. I mean, the playoffs just haven't phased him. They don't really do an effect on him. It really is just another game for him, and I mean, for that reason, they're the Cowboys defense did have a great game last week against a team they always struggle with. But this time around, I really do think that the Cowboys defense is going to struggle. I mean, sure, it will be a defensive battle for the most part. We see two of the best defenses in the league, but I think Brock's gonna do just enough to put the Niners over the top. And who knows? I honestly do expect Dak to get forced into two or three interceptions with this Niners defense. That was my prediction here. I mean, sure, it'll be close, but I mean, we know what happens to Dak. We know what happens to the Cowboys offense. We didn't see it happen last week. I'm expecting to see it this week here. I'm not going to say they're his fault, but I mean, we just know what ends up happening to Dak this year. So, regardless, for all those reasons, I do expect the Niners to sneak into the NFC Championship once again. And of course, that does wrap up our divisional round preview. Like you did mention, this episode will be cut short. Obviously, we only got 4 games to talk about for our preview. Only 6 games in our recap. So, like we're saying, season's winding down. Obviously, right in the thick of the playoffs. So, the main thing here, just enjoy it while it lasts. We only got a couple weeks of football left, so just keep getting these out and see more to come in the offseason, maybe even before the Super Bowl. Get some different type of content out there. But regardless of all that, we appreciate everyone that's still around out there. Believe it's been about 3 months doing this, so let's obviously keep this going. And Christian, and anything to close us out here?
Yeah, we'd like to thank all you guys for sticking around with us, just doing what we love. Obviously, every week we get some episodes for you guys. And obviously, with the postseason edition, it's been a little lackluster, but we'll for sure think of something to switch up the content a bit. But yeah, let's just enjoy these last couple of weeks of NFL football until the Super Bowl, and obviously a nice, long, boring offseason. So we hopefully get some episodes going by like March. Hopefully, but obviously that's still a while to go. And obviously, with that enough said, we'll see you guys next week.